What is up, guys? Ik ben Dar, back with another video. Hey, we here. This was requested, and I was checking out my request list today. So if you haven't posted on it, make sure there's a link in the bio description for you guys to go ahead and send down your request. But we got America compared while other countries treat their people so much better. Hey, after watching a lot of videos and seeing why so many people are happy in other countries, it hurts because living in America is like, hey, why can't we be better? You know what I'm saying? Why can't we treat people better and be right? But hey, we finna check this out. Y'all hit that subscribe button, send down recommendations. But let's see what it has to say. Let's see.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. I'm going to say something that will probably offend many of my viewers. Let me preface this by saying that I, as an American, include myself in the following statement. Americans are quite possibly the most willfully ignorant people on the face of the planet.
Dang.
We have access to the sum total of all
Can
human knowledge,
be.
yet our understanding of the world rarely extends beyond our own country. And even then, the majority of Americans believe in a vision of the country that does not actually exist. It's not that we're stupid, we just tend to blindly accept that the US is the greatest place on Earth, and therefore don't see any reason to educate ourselves about the realities of the rest of the world. In this episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on how America actually compares to other countries, and consider why the richest country on Earth fails to treat its people with dignity and fairness.
Dang, that's
I'm going to
facts.
provide a list of important topics, then for each item
He
we'll
going
compare
in
the
already.
American experience with that of citizens from other nations. Hopefully by providing a side-by-side comparison, you'll be able to see the stark contrast between how most Americans see their country and how it really stacks up against the competition. To give you an idea of just how skewed the American perception of our country really is, let's start with a pretty shocking example. Compensation for what are considered low-skilled jobs.
Oh yeah, come on now.
We'll take the quintessential American company, McDonald's. McDonald's is the world's largest restaurant chain by revenue. It operates in over 100 countries and serves over 69 million customers every day.
Dang.
As of 2018, McDonald's was the second largest private employer, with 1.7 million employees, behind Walmart's
Dang.
2.3 million. How many times have you heard someone refer to McDonald's jobs or workers in a derogatory manner? For some reason, people who work at McDonald's are seen as inferior or lazy or have any number of other unfair and unkind assessments leveled at them.
That's true.
This probably stems from the old notion of flipping burgers being a job anyone can perform. But the animosity towards low-wage workers has grown significantly.
Which is not true, because I was just telling, like, I go to schools and I speak to children and stuff like that. I work with the youth on a daily, and I tell them, like, you still need a high school diploma to even work at McDonald's. Like, you need a diploma to work. You can't drop out of school and think you're just gonna that's gonna be hard for you to even get a job at McDonald's because you don't have a diploma. That shows that you're not gonna finish what you started, basically. That shows that you're possibly gonna quit, possibly. So but you need a diploma. You need a high school diploma to even work at McDonald's.
Fair and unkind assessments leveled at them. This probably stems from the old notion of flipping burgers being a job anyone can perform. But the animosity towards low-wage workers has grown significantly in the past few decades. And in America, McDonald's workers
they smoothies good though.
low wage. As of 2020, the average crew member at McDonald's makes $9 per hour. The average McDonald's cashier makes $8 per hour.
I don't know how old this video is, but I know the McDonald's where I live, I think they start out at like 11, 12. So it went up $2, which is crazy because the standards of living is super, super high.
The federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25, a rate
Yup.
which has not been raised in over a decade, and which should not be considered a reasonable wage for any position.
And everything is
considering
getting
the
more
fact that a
expensive,
full-time
and
minimum
nobody
wage
getting more
worker
money.
cannot afford to rent a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere
At
in
all.
the United States, and can't afford a 1-bedroom apartment in over 95% of U.S. counties. Now, the all-too common...
I'm sorry I keep pausing, but like, it's crazy they mentioned this because if you work a minimum wage job, like, you really can't afford nothing. You probably could barely afford your car if you got a car that you bought. But guys, a 1-bedroom apartment pretty much costs almost $100, $50 less than a 2-bedroom apartment. That's how crazy it is. It's super
response to data
crazy.
like this is something like, well, yeah, it's not a hard job. You should just find a better one. Here's a simple question.
It's hard to
Should
find a
any
better job.
regardless of technical skill required, pay workers so little that they cannot afford to rent even the smallest place to live? Not to mention other necessities like utilities, food, and medicine. Absolutely not. That is inhumane and cruel, especially coming from the second largest employer in the richest country on the planet. Other notable objections include, McDonald's has to make a profit. If they pay their workers more, they might go out of business. First of all, if you can't pay your workers a fair wage, your company should not be in business.
McDonald's will never go out of business.
But again, McDonald's is not struggling to make ends meet.
Not at all.
In 2019, McDonald's raked in $21 billion in revenue. But no matter how obvious the exploitation of low-wage workers, Americans are hell-bent on praising the very companies doing the exploiting. Take this article on Reader's Digest, for example. It's titled, "This is what McDonald's workers really get paid." You see that and think, oh, nice. Finally some news showing how poorly these workers are compensated. Then you scroll down and nope, they're actually praising McDonald's, saying things like, the food chain is also great for paying their workers fairly, and McDonald's is one of the highest paying fast food chains in the United States. This level of sycophancy is insane. If $8 or $9 an hour is some of the highest pay in the industry, that doesn't indicate that McDonald's is paying fairly. It indicates that a massive chunk of the population is being paid poverty wages. This is where taking an international perspective is so critical. If all you see is feel-good stories about how well McDonald's workers are paid, you'll never know how bad
somebody paying to write them articles. Somebody paying those.
I want to share something with y'all.
Because there's not a lot.
Blessing from my life and from my family, and that's HelloFresh.
That is not enough at all.
The same position, but in a different country. Here's a McDonald's in Denmark. The average McDonald's worker in Denmark, for doing the same low-skill job, makes $22 per hour. Well, hold on, you hear Reader's Digest scream from across the Atlantic. McDonald's workers in America get paid vacation days after just a year of work. Wow, enticing. In Denmark, when you're hired at McDonald's, not only are you making nearly 3 times what you would make in an American Mickey D's, you also instantly have access to a full year of paid family leave and a pension. No slave.
Hold up. $22 an hour at McDonald's? God, I have a degree. And I ain't even make $22 an hour. That is insane. And that's another thing too, like, when I graduated or when I was in college, it was 1 year. It was like 2016, 2017. They said almost like 60 to 70% of college students that graduated that year struggled to find employment because they were overqualified. Even the jobs of people going to get degrees, people studying, getting degrees in, they're becoming overqualified for these jobs as well. That is crazy to me. But $22 an hour, sign me up, Denmark. I'll go to McDonald's. Shoot, I like McDonald's.
Also, instantly have access to a full year of paid family leave and a pension.
See, good benefits.
No slaving away for a year to prove your value to the company. You're hired and you're treated fairly. Simple as that.
That's fair.
McDonald's
That's very
can
fair.
afford to compensate all their workers.
Why wait a year? People are not going to be at McDonald's for a year.
Laws allow them to exploit American workers to the point where they're basically slaves, earning the bare minimum to survive, paying all of their income, and often going into debt just to pay rent, and having no way to escape this vicious cycle because they're working such long hours. This is the case across all of America's low-wage jobs, of which there are many. The plight of the low-wage worker is incredibly dire, and all you have to do to understand that is look at how those same workers are treated in other wealthy countries. Let's move on to another topic. Work-life balance.
That is crazy, man.
Fair wages are definitely part of this equation. If you're paid fairly, you don't need to work a second job, which will free up your time to be spent elsewhere. But we're going to focus on other metrics, specifically the length of the work week, vacation time, and parental leave. Let's start with the US. Most Americans would say that 40 hours per week is full-time. That seems to be the general consensus. But, in keeping with the country's exploitative labor practices, the hilariously named Fair Labor Standards Act does not actually define what qualifies as full-time. That's left up to the employer. Okay, why does this
That is true, because most employers, if it's like 35 plus hours, that's full-time. Anything under 35 hours, at least where I'm at, is considered part-time. And most time, you're not even, like, if you're considered part-time, you're probably going to get 20, 25 hours. You're not even going to get a whole 30. You're not even going to get a whole 35 unless you just, people call in and you have to work for them. But if you're part-time, you're probably barely going to see 30 hours a week.
Well, think of your past part-time jobs.
At least
Did
I
you get
believe
any
that's what it
benefits?
is.
Healthcare,
I thought it was 30. It's
401k?
30 to
Probably
35.
not. Most benefits, when they're offered at all, are reserved for full-time employees.
Yep.
Companies don't want to provide
True.
benefits because they affect their bottom line. America is all about cutting costs, and providing workers with fair compensation is a cost. So, imagine you apply for a full-time job at Best Buy. You're offered the job.
You're gonna be
but
working
they tell
every
you they
day.
only have part-time positions, but they can give you almost full-time. They make it sound like they're doing you a favor, offering you more hours than normal part-time. But this is just
Yeah.
another example of employers exploiting their workers. If you work 37 hours per week, you're essentially a full-time employee,
Yeah.
but they don't have to provide you any sort of benefits. No health care, no vacation, nothing. This is a common practice.
Crazy.
Companies will hire people, but keep them just below the threshold for full-time to avoid providing fair compensation. I've seen it happen. I used to work at Best Buy and they would do it all the time.
Dang.
And that's just the companies who are still trying to appear generous. Others will simply not offer benefits at all, or set their full-time positions at 50 or 60 hours per week. Sales positions are notorious for this. They'll often say, well, we expect you to work 40 hours, but all the top sellers are working 60 to 70 hours per week. This is coercion. They're
That's all. Come on now, you're working every day just about. When do you get a break?
Top sellers are working 60 to 70 hours per week. This is coercion. They're trying to pressure you into working more hours to benefit them, and the compensation is never what they claim
Sad
it
but
will be.
true, sad
By
but
allowing
true.
employers to define full-time work, American workers are held captive by corporations, forced to either work absurd hours to qualify for full-time benefits, or find a second job to help cover the cost of things like health insurance.
Crazy.
Both of these options lead to a terrible work-life balance, and as real wages have decreased
mentally
benefits have been
drained.
offered
It
less
just
and less
drains you.
over the years, huge numbers of American workers have developed an unhealthy work-life balance. For example, in 1960, when workers had real bargaining power, only 20% of American women worked. Today, 70% of children live in households where both parents are working full-time. Where does all this lead? As of 2020, over 85% of American men and 66% of women work more than 40 hours per week. We work 137 more hours per year than Japanese workers,
Wow.
260 more than the British, and 499 more hours per year than the
Dang.
French. Why do other countries have such a better balance? Because many of them have laws that cap
They're
the
not
length of the
drained and
full-time work
stressed
week.
from
Companies are
work,
required
paying
to pay their workers
bills.
fairly and allow enough time off for employees to maintain a healthy work-life balance. That's not the case in the U.S. Vacation time is
The U.S. is greedy. That's why it's greedy. It's greed out
maintain
here.
a healthy work-life
Dang.
balance. That's not the case in the U.S. Vacation time is a similar story. Whereas many other countries mandate that employers provide paid vacation and sick days, the U.S. does not. In every industrialized nation, workers get more paid vacation days and holidays than in the U.S. Here's
Crazy.
a depressing graph to illustrate just how poorly we
Let's see. Pay vacation, pay holidays. That's crazy. That is insane.
treat our workers. France 31,
Insane.
Spain 34, Austria
Look at that.
38,
That's way better.
America 0. 0 paid vacation days, 0 paid holidays.
And that's just some companies. Definitely some companies, but you don't get that much. You definitely don't get that much. Like, I work in education, so even as a teacher and stuff, your vacation is pretty much the summer, if you consider that. But it's like, kids are out of school, so what are you doing there? Like, that's not even really a vacation, you know? But that's the only time. But look at this. What are we doing, U.S.? What are we doing? Like, definitely not that much paid vacation. Even at my last job, let's see how many. We had paid holidays, and we had if we needed to take time off, we could take time off. But we had to. It was so many hours a month that we had to get in order to get time off, type thing. But paid holidays, I feel like we got a good amount, because more holidays, they kind of fall like in the fall. So, or they kind of come in the fall. So that's when you got the Christmas, you got Thanksgiving. It's kind of more, but then when you get to the spring, you don't really have that much in the spring. What, Martin Luther King's Day? That's about it, just about. But I probably had about 5 or 6 paid holidays, 5 or 6, I believe. And see, even compared to this, that's still, look, Austria or Norway, they only got 2 paid holiday, but they got 25 paid vacation. I don't even remember having a paid vacation, to be honest.
And remember,
that's my TED Talk.
These are the mandated figures. Every Austrian worker gets a minimum of 38 paid days off per year. Even in the worst possible employment situation, they'd still get 38 paid days off. In the US, many workers are lucky to get Christmas or Thanksgiving off at all.
Yeah.
And the odds that it's a paid holiday? Next to 0.
Your work can feel much smoother with Monday.com Workloads.
Like now, I think our Walmart, they actually let people off for like Christmas. People work Thanksgiving, New Year's, people work. They let them off Christmas. On Christmas Day, it seemed, I think everybody was pretty much closed, probably except gas stations. But they're right back to work the next day. They're right back to work.
Let's move on to our final comparison. Paid parental leave. Many Americans aren't even aware this is a thing, so let me explain. When an employee of a company has a child, sometimes they're offered parental leave, a period of time where they can stay home from work to bond with and take care of.
See, this is important. This is very important right here.
The employee, the child, and in the long run, the company, because the employee will be happier, less stressed, and more loyal to the company. Of course, offering paid parental leave doesn't benefit corporations in the short term. And if there's one thing that encapsulates the American business philosophy, it's short-term gains over all else. So it won't surprise you to learn that the US is the only industrialized nation on the planet that does not mandate some amount of paid parental leave. This may be shocking to my American viewers because being able to get paid to spend time with your newborn child sounds like an impossible dream in our dystopian labor market.
It is.
And honestly, it probably is impossible in our current America. We're so invested in self-destructive capitalism that even suggesting the possibility of paid parental leave would put U.S. politicians out of a job.
And I believe this is why people just keep switching jobs, going from job to job.
In fact, every other OECD nation, and even in many third world countries, new parents are guaranteed at least several weeks of leave. Let's take a look at a few of them. Ethiopia, a country with an annual gross national income of under $900 per person, offers 90 days of leave with 100% pay. Madagascar, 14 weeks at 100%.
Not Madagascar.
Afghanistan, 90 days. Denmark, 52 weeks. Norway, 56 weeks. France, 16 weeks at 100% pay for your first child, up to 26 weeks for your third, on top of 104 unpaid weeks. Lithuania, 52 weeks at 100%, plus an additional 52 weeks at 80%. Again, the United States does not mandate a single day of paid parental leave, even for the mother, and the father is never considered. This means that workers in America have to choose to either pay the exorbitant cost of childcare or have one parent quit their job in order to take care of the child.
And childcare is
These are both bad
expensive,
options, which often lead to economic precarity. But that doesn't matter to the companies employing American workers. Profit is the only thing that matters. Hopefully, seeing these labor practices compared like this has made it clear that not only is the U.S. not living up to its claim to being the greatest nation on Earth, but also that it consistently ranks poorly and often dead last in terms of labor metrics. Why is it that the wealthiest, most powerful nation on Earth can't pay their workers a fair wage, or provide health care, vacation time, or paid parental leave?
Greed.
You should realize by now that it's not that they can't, it's that they won't. Everything in America is beholden to the almighty dollar. Profit is the only motivator. If an action does not...
Hey, I read this book in college called The Goal. And what was it about? Money. Money. The goal for a business is money. No money, no business, basically.
Is beholden to the almighty dollar. Profit is the only motivator. If an action does not produce a greater profit, it will not be considered. Over the last few decades, Americans have watched as our livelihoods, our quality of life, and our dignity have all been stripped away by those who already make obscene amounts of money. Those in power say we're all in this together, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The ultra-wealthy and the world's largest corporations rely on Americans remaining ignorant. They rely on us accepting the lie that America is the greatest nation on Earth, that it couldn't possibly get any better. All you have to do to shatter that lie is to take a look around the world. Other nations take care of their citizens. Even impoverished nations, or nations that we've bombed into oblivion, take better care of their people than the US does. American workers need to relearn the language of class struggle and work together to break the wheel of the capitalist machine.
That's a
If
fact.
we want
That's
to
a
claim
fact.
that the United States is the greatest place on Earth, we need to make it that way.
Man, this was... Dang, I needed to see
mentioned at
this.
the beginning of this video that this kind of content is supported by my patrons on Patreon. This type of video, while very important, is
Yeah,
something
I'm gonna subscribe because he got some good information on here. Second thought, but hey, he was spitting true because I couldn't agree more with him. It is true, and that's why I started this channel. And because on the last channel I was looking at stuff over around the world and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I wanted to look at different countries and stuff. And lo and behold, if I didn't, I would have missed out on all this information, this great information, because that's what we're always told. Oh, America is so great. People come here. It's the land of opportunities, right? But it's like, my opportunity shouldn't be stressing me out. My opportunity shouldn't be, overwhelming me to the point where I just have a mental breakdown, or I'm so fatigued, or I just at work most of the time and not with my family, And that's why I also, I'm gonna be honest, that's why I started YouTube too, because I'm with my family all the time, making content, and I'm able to do so, spend time with family. If profit comes, it comes. But that's why I do this, because being at work all day, all week, not seeing my kids, not seeing my wife, that is not my ideal of living, to be honest, especially when you just stuck at a place that when I come home to spend time, just tired, ready to take a nap, But he was spitting facts. He was spitting super facts on this one, America Compared. But I definitely can agree, just by other videos that I've seen, other countries do treat their people better, For America to be the land of opportunities, we need to start treating our people better, And this ain't even just about being kind, being nice to other people. In business, like, I know business, you need money to operate, but you also need employees to keep the business running. And if your employees not good, they're not going to produce, and you're just going to have bad products, But I mean, then again, you don't know the work environments and stuff. I mean, most people, when I go to, maybe people are happy at McDonald's, even though they don't pay. Maybe they're happy because of a good work environment. I don't know. I never worked at McDonald's, but I worked in restaurants before. But man, yeah, but it's just different strokes for different folks. But that's all I have for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. This was sad but true, but that's all I have. Ik ben daar. And I'm out of here. Y'all be blessed, be the best, be you. I'm out.